Hi guys,
Hi guys,
I'm Manny,
I'm Simon.
and you already know that because you're elite members, obviously. And this is another roster review. Today we're reviewing Simon's Orcs. They look incredible, mate. By the way, you've done a wicked job on these.
Thank you very much.
They're looking amazing. We couldn't fit all of them in the shot, but he's got a lot of buggies. And there's a few planes and stuff. So just to quickly run you through the list first. That's step number one. So it's all Death Skulls. Right?
All Death Skulls. Yeah,
Very nice. I love the 6 of Invern. Gives them some survivability, doesn't it?
yeah, definitely gives them a bit of survivability. It makes them a little bit more accurate as well because you get the rerolls in there as well. With the Death Skulls
Nice.
trait.
Yes. Yeah. Is it one reroll to hit wound and one for damage?
And one
as
for
well?
damage as well. Yeah. So
Nice. I like it. A little bit more accuracy, a little bit more survivability, all in one. So it starts off with an Outrider detachment. There is, of course, a Warboss on Warbike. Simon's really nice one in this little jet. He looks awesome, I think. Got him. He is the biggest boss, of course, because why would you not use that strat if you don't have Gazgal in your army? It would be silly not to use it. He's got the Brutal But Cunning and the Killer Claw. Brutal But Cunning is Warlord trait, and the Killer Claw is his relic. Makes him super killy. That's always the build you do on a Warboss. Then we've got a Death Killer War Trike, and he's got the Super Cyborg Body, which is a 5-up Feel No Pain. And then Simon, why don't you tell us what array of buggies you've gone for?
okay, well I've gone with pretty much all of the buggies except for the Squig buggy.
The Squig Buggy.
So yeah, it's free custom booster blasters, free Megatrack scrap jets, free Boomdacker snaz wagons, free shock jump dragsters.
Very nice. And he's souped them all up. So the Boomdackers have got the souped up special, the shock jumps have got the gyroscopic whirligig, and the scrap jets have, of course, got the corkscrew. Why would you not have the corkscrew? Then he's got 2 units of 1 Deathcopter and a Burna-Bommer with Scorch missiles and a Dacker jet with 6 super shooters on it.
That's it, yep.
That's nice. And then there is a auxiliary support detachment of a Flyer, which is also Death Skulls, and that is a second Burna-Bomber. I'm guessing that one doesn't have the Scorch missiles just because of points.
It doesn't have it because of points, yeah, literally.
Perfect.
No points left.
Right, so that's the list. Let's have a look at how it all works. So let's have a look at how all of this works now. So first of all, we've got the Warboss, of course. Now, the Warboss is there to be killy. His War, of course, doesn't work on the vehicles. It's infantry and biker specific. So he's there, I'm guessing, just to be a big punch.
Pretty much, yeah.
He's wicked. So Brutal But Cunning, of course, lets him re-roll his hit rolls of 1 in combat. And the Killer Claw goes perfectly with that because it's a Power Claw that doesn't suffer the -1. So he hits on 2s. The Warlord trait lets him re-roll his 1s. The Killer Claw lets him re-roll all wound rolls. And then the Killer Claw is no minus and it's flat 3 damage. And then the Warlord trait makes it flat 4 damage. So the Warlord trait and the Relic work like perfectly together. The synergy on them is incredible. So it's 2s re-rolling 1s to hit. And then normally 2s or 3s to wound with full re-rolls on a flat 4 damage Claw. And then he can fight twice. He can fight on death. It's horrible, isn't it?
He's a fantastic model as well. I mean, and he's got 8 wounds. So the great thing is you can hide him behind the buggies. So he's not too fragile.
Yeah.
So you can screen him with the buggies and then you can just go off quickly and go into murder something big and important. So
I'm guessing, is it the 7 normally then +1 wound for the biggest boss?
+1 for the biggest boss.
Very nice. And does it gives him +1 attack as well, right?
Yes, +1 attack.
+1 attack and a 4-up invert?
4-up invert.
Oh, he's so tough. You know, he's you wouldn't expect it from an orc character to have a 4-up invern and have 8 wounds on top of that.
Yeah.
And then he hits like, well, you'd expect that hits like a brick bit. So that's basically what he's there for. He's just to run around and kill stuff. And then, like we say, because he's got the small amount of wounds, he can go after whatever's hitting the vehicles, smack it, hit it hard, and still be covered by the vehicles that kind of move around him to shoot or charge and stuff like that. So I really like that he's in there. And then the Death Killer War Trike, because, of course, it always pays to have 2 characters that are pretty good in combat. He also is just as hard to kill pretty much because, yeah, he doesn't have the Invern, but he's got a 6-up Invern. He's got 1 more wound, does it? As well?
1 more wound.
And a 5-up Feel No Pain. It makes a big difference. And then, of course, can't be targeted in because it's got 9 wounds. And then also, his War works on vehicles, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's the Speed War.
Speed War.
Yeah, so all these vehicles in this army can all advance and charge, which is big, right?
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Especially when all the weapons are assault.
Yes.
It's nice. Absolutely. On the turns that you want to, you can just advance, especially if you only want one unit to charge. You can advance with that one unit. Everybody can hit normally. Then the one unit you've advanced with, you can do more DACA on them.
Yeah.
And then they've got exploding 5s, even though they're hitting on 6s. So they only hit on 6s, but 5s and 6s still give them extra shots.
Yeah, it's really,
which
really
is
solid.
incredible. Yeah, it's wicked. So no, sorry, they go hitting on 5s and 6s, don't they?
Yes.
They always hit on 5s and 6s, and they get explosions on 5s and 6s. So it doesn't matter that one squad's advanced. They get the maximum amount of shooting, probably more than the rest on that turn when they use that stratagem, and then they can still charge.
Yeah, it's really solid. And actually, despite being a vehicle army, they are actually pretty hard hitting in combat because they're orcs. They got rams and things attached to them, so advancing, shooting, and charging is really viable with this.
Yeah, because they're all hitting on 4s in combat, aren't they? They're not like other vehicles where they hit on 5s or 6s.
Yeah.
They're hitting on 4s, and they've got 4 or 5 attacks each. With these different
they all have
ones.
4 attacks basically.
And like the mega tracks, I know the mega tracks are like strength 8 -2 D3 in combat.
Yeah.
And even the saw blades on the others they're still strength 6 -1 damage, but they're strength 6 and they got 4 or 5 attacks hitting on 4s.
Yeah, hitting on
Wait,
4s.
yeah, they will do the damage when they get there. And spiked rams, like I think it's
But the booster blasters, I think, have the spike rams because they do mortal wounds on the way in. I think is that one.
the booster blasters, isn't
Booster
it?
blasters,
Yeah,
which
the
are these
booster
guys.
blasters and the mega tracks have both got spiked rams. So when they charge, you roll a dice on a 4+, they do D3 mortal wounds, and it's for each buggy as well.
Each buggy,
Not just the one. And then so that's it. That's what the 2 characters do. And now we've gone a little bit into the buggies. What else do these buggies do then, Si? What are they there for?
So I spent a lot of CP
Mm-hmm.
to give them all custom jobs. So I think we'll start with the shock jump dragsters.
Very nice.
So we've given them the gyroscopic whirly gigs as their custom job.
Love the name.
And essentially, whenever they advance, you roll a dice on a 4+. You remove it from the battlefield,
Mhm.
put it anywhere more than 9 inches away from the enemy, and then they take a mortal wound. So with the gyroscopic whirly gig, you don't need to roll the 4+, and you never take the mortal wound. So you just pick them up and put them anywhere you want when they advance.
That's
really
wicked.
lovely. So super maneuverable.
Nice. I like it. So that's what they do. And they've got quite a few shots as well. They're nothing to be scoffed at. Being able to just be picked up and dropped down somewhere, we know is already powerful from abilities like Gate of Infinity, Sorcerer's Facade, the Dark Matter Crystal. There's so many abilities that let you do it. But most armies have to either get that off on a roll with a power, or they need to spend a relic to do it once per game. Like, the Dark Matter Crystal, the Veil of Darkness. Yeah, they're all like one use only in a game because that's how strong the ability is. Now, these guys, just anytime they advance, they can do it.
Yeah.
Which is insanely powerful. Without a roll, I think that's an amazing job you've got on them.
There's a fantastic strat for them as well. So after they've shot in the shooting phase, they can immediately make an advanced roll, so they can just teleport out again, which is really nice.
That's tasty.
So you can teleport them somewhere, shoot them, and they're ballistic skill 3+ with their shock rifle.
Yeah,
So when they
shock
advance, they're
rifle.
4+, which is pretty good for orcs.
Mhm.
Then after the shot, you can just go away somewhere else. They got jump, shoot, jump, but like mega jump, shoot, jump.
Yeah, that's very mega
pretty-
jump, shoot, mega jump.
Yeah, so they're pretty good. I really like them.
Gotta love them, right? That's cool. And then what about the Boomdacker Snazwagons then?
So the Boomdacker Snazwagons, I've upgraded their mech specials to souped up specials.
Souped up specials.
So rather than 9 shots, these things now have 15 shots each.
It's the way to go, I think.
I think
with
so,
them.
yeah. They lose a point of strength, so they go from strength 5 to strength 4, but they basically double their output. So with 3 of
That's
them,
amazing.
it's 45 shots, which is really, really good.
And then they also have a big shooter as well, don't they?
And they have a big shooter. Yeah.
Souped up special and a big shooter.
And they have burner bottles as well. So they've got the
man.
2d6 grenades as well, which are really, really nice.
They just have a bucket ton of shots, right?
Yeah, really,
They
really.
do a lot to a bit more hoardy armies, but the shots are still got AP on them, so they can put dents in stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And like I said, with the more DACA, these are the things you use them on.
Yeah,
With those
the
5s
super
to 6s,
specials.
because you just throw a load of dice at them.
Could you
and it's
imagine with
great.
the amount of shots that they get? That's horrible.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oof. And then, of course, we've got the custom booster blasters.
Yeah, custom boost blasters. Now, I've not bothered giving them the custom job, so they're kind of standard. Their custom job's good, but I'm so CP starved that they were the ones I wasn't going to give them to. So they just have their normal rivet cannons, which are already really, really
Yeah,
good.
the rivet cannons are nice.
Six shots, strength 7, AP -2, 2 damage. I mean, that's pretty decent already.
Yeah.
And then they have 4 burner exhausts. So they're flamers. They're so D3 shots each. So each one has 4 D3 shots.
Oh, each one has
4
D3
D3 shots. Yeah. flamers.
Oof, that's tasty.
So they're really nice. And there's a strat with them as well. So they're D3 shots, but the strat makes their range 10 inches.
Oh, yes.
And 3 shots each.
Okay.
So you can do 12 auto hits with them.
That's good.
CP. So that's
per buggy.
Yeah,
12 auto hits per buggy.
It makes each burner exhaust
Oof.
assault 3 rather than assault D3.
Okay, yeah, I like
So
that.
it's once. Basically, it's kind of similar to the Armager strat where they get max shots.
Yeah.
So you just go, 1 CP, 12 shots.
That's tasty. So they come in and they get 36 shots with that if you want for a CP, and then rivet cannons 18 shots. So yeah, then I like them.
Yeah, pretty good.
Custom booster blasters, guys. That's a wicked one.
Yeah, so
okay.
nice little addition to the army, and then
my favorite ones, man, Megatrack scrap jets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think they look the coolest, especially with the way that Size converted them. With the tracks on the front, they look wicked, and I think they're the best looking one. They look the most raciest, the most rocket shaped.
They are the fastestest.
Exactly. And they have wing missiles.
They have wing missiles.
Oh, you gotta love the one with wing missiles.
These things have got a lot of DACA.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite surprising how much shots these things put out.
And then they have a bloody nose drill too.
They have a nose drill. Yeah, so again, I've put the custom job on their corkscrew.
Yes.
In case it wasn't obvious that they were going to get it. So
it's the best one. It is the best
so
one.
good because my army doesn't actually have just beyond the bosses.
Yeah.
My army doesn't have a lot of like close combat.
Yeah.
So these guys are fantastic in combat.
Definitely,
Really good. So corkscrew is after you've fought and after you've consolidated, they can fight again, which is really good.
Just to put it in perspective for you, they have 4 attacks a model, these guys do. So you've got 12 attacks with your unit once you go in. After your spiked ram, so you roll 3 dice when they go in, and for every 4+, the enemy unit takes D3 mortal wounds. Then you have 12 attacks at strength 8 minus 2 D3 damage. Then they consolidate, and then they fight again with another 12 attacks. Oof, they're nasty. They're very cool. And then, like we were saying, the amount of shots on them is just silly. They've got 2 D3 shots, rocket shots, 2 D3.
Yep.
Then they've got wing missiles, which adds another shot basically as a rocket, which gets +1 to hit against fly.
+1 to hit against fly, and then
but other than that,
-1 against anything else.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
downside.
But other than that, it's the same as the other rockets, right?
Yep,
so
same profile.
you're basically getting 2d3 +1. 2d3 +1 rocket shots. They're strength 8 minus 2, flat 3 damage. And it's 2d3 +1 shots per buggy. So you're averaging 15 shots off this unit at strength 8 minus 2, flat 3 damage. Which in the current meta rules, man.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then they've got two twin big shooters each. So 12 shots worth of big shooters each. That's on top of that.
On top of their rockets.
Oh, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
I think they're the ones. They're definitely the ones. And then the nose drill on top of that.
Yeah, they're a very good all round unit. They're just very good at everything.
Yeah,
and they're quick. They're pretty speedy as well, which is quite nice.
They're multifunctional.
The fact that all of their weapons are assault weapons as well, which makes them just so useful.
Exactly. That's the thing. Having the 15 flat 3 damage shots, averagely we say, having 15 flat 3 damage shots is great against elite infantry and vehicles. Then having the 36 twin big shooter shots off them is amazing to clear chaff and screens and hordes away. And then just going in and charging after that as well, doing all the mortal wounds and smacking hard. They will do the most damage in this list, I think.
I believe
the mega tracks are the bomb. They are the bomb.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, we've got a Dakar jet.
We've got a Dakar jet.
So what's the thinking behind the Dakar jet then? So where's the Dakar jet there?
Mainly to run sort of distraction for the other planes I have. So I've given it 6 super shooters.
Nice. It's got 18 shots.
18 shots. So it's there to kind of support the boom dackers to give me a little bit more anti-horde.
Yep.
But like I said, mainly it's there because it's going to be a distraction for Burna-Bombers.
Yeah. And then we've got 2 Burna-Bombers. Now the Burna-Bombers are insane. They fly over a unit and they roll a dice for each model in the unit.
Yep, up to 10, I believe.
Up to 10, yes. And then on a 5+, they do a mortal wound. But if the unit they're hitting is infantry, then it's on a 4+, I believe.
Yes.
So 4+, you're doing mortal wounds, and then you can use a stratagem called Wildfire, which is you pick another unit within 6 inches of the one you bombed, and they also get bombed. But that one, unfortunately, does not get the benefit of the +1 for infantry.
So that's always on 5s.
Always on 5s. But that's insane, right? You bomb one unit, do some mortal wounds to it, bomb a unit next to them for 1 CP, do loads of mortal wounds to it, and then you do the flying headbutt. Hey!
So
automatic crash and burn.
So flying head, but it's used on all the planes, but on the Burna-Bommer, most planes will do D3 damage. Now the Burna-Bomber just does flat 3 mortal wounds, which is a fantastic way just to guarantee you a load of mortal wounds.
Yeah, exactly. So most people think that it does D3 mortal wounds because people are saying, well, you just crash and burn. Well, yes, you do just crash and burn, but you use the crash and burn ability on that specific plane. So like the Dakar jet will have a crash and burn profile on it, but when it blows up, it only does D3 mortal wounds. Now, the Burna-Bomber's own crash and burn rule specifically states that every unit within 6 takes 3 mortal wounds, not D3, just 3 mortal wounds. So that's the way it's played, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
The output on it can be
it's
devastating.
Pretty terrifying. So I've actually tested this online, and averagely it's something like between the wildfire and the bombs and that, you're doing something like 13 mortal wound. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's pretty silly.
Horrible. This is the thing you'll see. So, well, if you watched the Thursday night fight we did a while ago when I played my Jets against David's characters, and it blew up in the middle and it killed, well, after 2 of them blew up, they'd taken 2 astropaths, a priest, a company commander, like 3 or 4 Bulgrin after bombing them, 3 guardsmen from like 5 different squads twice.
Yeah.
Because they're very hard to stop, very hard to screen out. And then when they land, obviously it's a flyer base, and then it's 6 inches all the way around this flyer base. They catch a lot of stuff, and there's not much you can do to stop them from exploding like that and hurting.
No. So if you wanted a bit of a sort of a mortal wound alpha strike in the first turn, it's terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
It makes a big difference,
especially if you've got one of those deployment maps where you're all bunched up like diagonals.
Oh yes,
that's where it's like the most effective, and you got lots of units all next to each other.
And it does make a big difference, huge difference. So yeah, that's what the list does and how it all works. Let's have a look at how we're going to tackle it now. So we've seen what the list does. Now let's have a look at how we're going to tackle it. So the first thing to start off with, high strength, high damage shots will always do the trick, right? They're not that tough. All of them are toughness 6. And then on top of that, they've got a 4 up armor save, which is the only thing that lets them down, really, isn't it? The 4 up armor save. Now, there's no custom force field in the army because the buggies would just run off too quick and they'd go in all their own directions. It's impossible to keep that many in a custom force field range anyway, so it'd just be a waste of points to take one, wouldn't it? Really,
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I had considered taking the WASBomb blaster jet, but again, because it itself is so fragile, it just makes no real sense to. Yeah,
it'd be a point sink, wouldn't it, to do it? I think it's too much. It wouldn't do too much against the things that are going to hurt you. So there's no custom force field, and that means they just have a 6 up in run from being death scores. You're not going to pass very many of those. Anything that's high strength with high damage is normally -3 or more with its AP. Even missiles at -2 AP will put these guys on a 6 up save, and then D6 damage, flat 3 or D6 damage going straight through like that is really going to make a dent, especially because it's all normally strength 8, 7, 8 plus, and these are all toughness 6. So pretty much anything anti-tank which is going to wound these guys on 3s, only give them a 6 up save and then do bucket tons of damage, will start making these disappear fairly sharpish.
Yeah, it's a pretty fragile army in terms of like when you fire back. I mean, even high volumes of strength, like 4 or 5, even wounding on 5s just deal quite a lot of damage to me. So.
That was going to be the next thing to say, because high strength, high damage shots, you only get a few of. You don't get them in volume, but they'll start making them disappear quickly just because the damage of them. But high volume shooting, on the other hand, as well, will do the same trick. Like if you were to fire 50, 60 bolter shots, all wounded on 5s, and if you can get some sort of reroll 1s or use a litany to make them wound on 4s, it is just a bucket ton of 4 up saves for these guys at the end of the day. And if you've got doctrines and you're -1, that many 5 ups, you are going to make these buggies disappear quite quickly, like we were saying. So these guys really need to get in there and do their job quick if you've got either high strength, high damage, or massive amounts of volume of firepower. So those are the two ways to deal with it, with shooting and how to kill it, basically. Then the things you've got to remember is a couple of chaff units, because, yeah, like we said, the things you've got to remember is none of this flies. Of course, you've got that one unit that jumps up and drops down, but none of it flies other than the planes. You can't stop the planes from flying. That's going to happen. But all the buggies, you can pin them in. Their strength comes from the fact that they're so speedy.
Yes.
They can advance everywhere, shoot and charge. Now, if you just put couple of little chaff units in front of them, even 90-point, 100-point units, if a 100-point unit runs up the board and blocks 9 buggies from moving for a turn, I would say that's 100% worth it. So remember, units that just block them in are very powerful at playing these guys, and that ties in perfectly with the fact that obsec really hurts them. Any obsec, not even like, because, in these Ross reviews, I'm normally like, anything that's, I make the point over and over again in the tackling it section of fast-moving obsec units. Fast-moving obsec units just can deal with pretty much anything, or they throw a spanner in the works for anything. The thing is, against this army, it doesn't even have to be fast-moving obsec. Just any obsec is annoying because this list has no obsec. So if you've got a couple of obsec units, even just moving towards the midfield objective, not moving quickly and blocking and going for Simon's objectives, but like holding midfield objectives, it'll make it annoying for Sai because normally he'd just go, well, I'll kill all this really hard stuff on this objective and then I'll go into it and hopefully by the end of it, I've got more models on it than they have. But if you've got any sort of obsec, Sai then has to go, well, can't risk it here. I need to fire at the obsec unit rather than the things he wants to kill that can kill him back.
Because all the buggies are essentially sort of single units as well.
Yeah.
I have to, if there's any obsec on use, I have to kill everything on the objective.
Yes.
I can't leave it to one man because even with one each on there, he's obsec claims it. So I have to make sure I'm fully clearing obsec.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It makes it a bit harder for this kind of list to designate its firepower when you hit it with just any sort of obsec sitting on objectives. So that's a brilliant way of doing it, just because most lists now have patrols or battalions in because they're free. Now, if you do, that's the perfect use of your troops. Put them on the objectives in the middle rather than at the back, because normally you put them at the back. Just leave someone else at the back. Put your obsec units towards the middle of the board because it forces the orc player's hand with this kind of list to have to deal with them. And then they're not hitting the stuff in your army that's going to kill the buggies. So that's a perfect way of dealing with it. Then the only other thing I wanted to say is this gives up Bring It Down super easily. So always take Bring It Down against this list. Every buggy you kill is a point. And there are 12 buggies in the list. Then you've got to remember there's a Death Killer War Trike. That'll give you another point. So that's 13. Deathcopters are bikes, aren't they?
Deathcopters, I think they're vehicles.
So each Deathcopter you kill is a point.
Well.
So that's like 15 points you've got before the planes. And you've got to remember, 2 of those planes are going to kill themselves and give you points.
Yeah.
So always take Bring It Down, because each plane that dies on its own gives you 2 points because they're over 10 wounds. So every buggy is a point, but you're going to basically guarantee 4 points from the 2 planes exploding. And, people won't be seeing this coming, but the 2 Burna-Bombers will blow up. And then later on in the game, people won't care about that Dakka jet because it's only doing a few shots and they're not that reliable and it's not hurting them that much. But then remember, that can fly and get but 2. That's something that people tend to forget. They just go, oh, well, the Burna-Bombers are good at that. The Burna-Bombers are good at that. Now, a Deathcopter, a Dakka jet just coming in and nosediving as well, it does the same thing. It's just you have to roll the D3 mortal wounds, but it's still D3 mortal wounds to every unit within 6 inches. Very powerful, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So especially late game, because that's when it'll happen. The Burna-Bombers will blow up turns 1 and 2, maybe even 1 and 3 or something like that. But then later on in the game, that Dakka jet's going to come into play. And when that nosedives and explodes as well, that could really hurt. So might be 3 planes that just kill themselves, and that'll give you 6 points without you even touching a buggy. But you will, whichever army you play, you will kill a couple of buggies, 4 or 5, minimum, even if the buggies are winning. You'll still kill them.
I would certainly not go into a game and not expecting to get half my army immediately killed.
Exactly.
Because this is what this army does. It's very hard hitting when it gets there.
It's a glass hammer.
But it doesn't take the damage well when received. So.
It's a glass hammer. It's going to go in there. Half of it's going to die. Half of it's just going to wipe you out at the same time. But they basically die as they kill you. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So go into the game with Bring It Down in mind and realize that this list does split up. When it wants to go after different things, it has to kind of tear away from each other so you can isolate certain elements of it. And that is how we would tackle the list. Let's have a look at some modifications.
We're on schedule.
Cool. Right then. So that's how we would tackle the list. Now let's have a look at a few things we could do to maybe change it to suit different playstyles. So the first thing is, if you were going to go fluffy, if you're going to go pure fluff, I think the only thing you're missing, like we were saying at the start, is the Rucker Truck Squig Buggies, right? If you're going to go pure fluff, then, because obviously Simon's written this as his list to take to events and stuff. So that's why he's built it the way that he has. But if you're a pure fluffy player out there and you like this style of army, then something that I'd recommend for you to do, drop the Dakka Jet, because it doesn't really fit. The 2 Burna-Bombers are perfect. The Dakka Jet doesn't really fit the theme of the army. So drop the Dakka Jet and the 2 Def Copters, because they're basically there just to hold objectives.
The objective holding for me, yeah, absolutely.
So I would drop the Dakka Jet and drop the 2 Def Copters and take a unit of Rucker Truck Squig Buggies, because then you've got a unit of 3 of all 5 different buggies that it's possible to take in an orc army. So that's basically what I would do if I was playing more narrative games. But in the competitive setting, I think there's only really one thing that you can change. And that's we've got a little bit of inconsistency with a few of the units in the army, mainly being the boom dackers and also the shock jumps. Now, the shock jumps are very dicey. Yeah, they can go in there, they can do their damage and they jump out. But the way that they roll their shots and the number of shots that they get and the boom dackers is not as much as some of the others, or not as reliable as some of the others. So I would go like for like, point for point units. So I would trade the unit of 3 boom dackers for another unit of 3 custom booster blasters.
Yep.
So you've got 2 units of custom booster blasters with their reliable rivet cannons and the reliable amount of shooting, the decent combat. And then they've all got spiked rams then. You've taken out a unit that doesn't have spiked rams. You've got all the spiked rams for maximum mortal wound output. Similarly, I would replace the shock jumps, who are very unreliable at what they do. Yes, they're really fun. But they're really fun. They're the only like random element left at that point. So you kind of swap them out for another unit of 3 Megatrap Scrapjets. Now, we were already talking that the Megatrap Scrapjet is definitely the best one, right? The Megatrap Scrapjet is the best one. It's got the best shots, the most shots overall when you add them all together, and the best combat ability, and also mortal wounds with the spiked rams. So you drop the 6 buggies without spiked rams, you replace them with 6 more reliable shooting ones, better combat ones, and more mortal wound output ones. So you're maximizing the damage of the list. So that's what I would personally do. I'd take 2 units of custom booster blasters and 2 units of Megatrack Scrapjets. And then, yeah, that's it really. You've got the spike rams in there already, and in that style of list where you're trying to maximize the output of the list, I would just swap that Dakka Jet for a 3rd Burna-Bommer.
I think so,
because it's just so scary for people having that many mortal wounds. So imagine one plane flies over, drops bombs, goes off the board. Next plane flies over, drops bombs, goes off the board. 3rd plane flies over, drops bombs, wildfires and drops bombs on another unit. So at this point, you've bombed 4 units, and then flying headbutts and explodes and does flat 3 mortal wounds. Then all of your buggies advance up the board and charge, and each one on a 4+ does D3 mortal wounds. The mortal wounds you can kick out of this list at that point is horrible.
It's pretty scary.
All the new elite armies are going to be terrified to play against 12 buggies that all do mortal wounds when they charge, and also 3 planes that they just can't screen, basically, at coming in, bombing, and then exploding. When they explode themselves, what can you do about it? You really can't, can you?
There's nothing you can do about it. Yeah.
So that's it really. If you're going to go fluffy, add the Rucker Truck Squig Buggies, and if you're going to go competitive, take the 6 better buggies again as like a duplicate, and then put a 3rd Burna-Bommer in. And I think that's it really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're going to go hyper competitive, I think
exactly
3 Burna-Bombers is kind of they're
Nasty,
so good. They're so good. It would be sin not to have 3.
They're just so scary as well, aren't they? Like, even if you don't fly an headbutt 3 times, you don't get the chance to fly an headbutt 3 times. The fact that you can will scare the hell out of your opponent.
Well, I think it has to make your opponent look at the way they deploy as well, because you're like, well, it hits everything within 6 inches of explodes, and now I've got to spread everything out. So you know, it's mind games of orcs, which is
very
pretty,
hard,
which is
isn't
pretty,
it?
yeah, it's pretty fun.
So it's a brilliant way of playing. And yeah, that's the only modifications really I would make. I would just swap the 6 slightly randomer buggies for the 6 like more solid, reliable buggies and put a Burna-Bommer in there. Other than that, I wouldn't really change it because I love the theme of it. The fact that it's all buggy vehicles that go in, all advanced, shoot, charge. You've got the two hard-hitting characters sitting safely in the middle of it. I really love the rest of the way that it plays. So the modifications are just slight tweaks, really. Nothing major, I don't think. I don't think it needs anything
It's
major.
a proper orc speed wall with just all of it random, so I'm super happy.
Wow. So that's the modifications that we make, and that is the end of this roster review. Remember, guys, use the link below if you want to submit your list for a roster review right now, and who knows, maybe be on next week's. And until next week, people, see you later.
Bye.